So, you want to become a chef in Australia, huh? Well, you've come to the right place because today we're going to deep dive into exactly that.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to give you the roadmap to making that dream a reality.
Okay, so for this deep dive, we're looking at this YouTube video called "How to Become a Chef in Australia: Your Ultimate Guide."
Yeah, it's a pretty comprehensive guide. It covers all the major points you need to know.
And it's really encouraging too, right off the bat. It talks about how Australia's culinary scene is like booming right now and they're actively looking for skilled chefs.
Absolutely. I mean, Australia's always had a strong food culture, but in recent years, it's really exploded. And that means there's a real demand for talented chefs from all over the world.
So if you've got the skills and the passion, this could be your chance, you know? Okay, so let's break down the first crucial step. What does this video say about visas?
Well, visas are obviously a big deal, right? You can't even start working in Australia without the right one. And the video lays out three main options that are most relevant for chefs.
Okay, so option number one, lay it on me.
All right, so the first one is the TSS Visa Subclass 482.
TSS Visa Subclass 482.
Got it. And this one is employer sponsored, which basically means an Australian business can nominate you for a position if they think you've got the skills they need.
So you need to find a restaurant or a hotel or something that's willing to sponsor you.
Exactly, and that can be for up to 4 years.
4 years. That's a pretty good chunk of time.
Yeah, it is. And here's an interesting thing. The video mentions sponsorships can sometimes be easier to get in regional areas, outside the big cities.
Oh, really? Why is that?
Well, sometimes those areas have a harder time attracting skilled workers, so they might be
Sure.
more open to sponsoring people from overseas.
So it's like a little pro tip if you're looking to get your foot in the door, maybe look outside of Sydney or Melbourne,
Yeah,
you know.
exactly. Think outside the box.
All right, that's the TSS visa. What's the next option?
Okay. Option number 2 is the Skilled Independent Visa, or Subclass 189.
Subclass 189. All right, keeping track.
And this one is a points-based system. So you basically earn points for things like your age, your English skills, your qualifications, your work experience, all that good stuff.
So it's kind of like a competition almost. You got to rack up enough points to be eligible.
Yeah, you could say that it's a way for Australia to kind of select the people they think will contribute the most.
Mhm.
And if you score high enough, you get an invitation to apply for permanent residency.
Permanent residency. That's a big deal.
It is, yeah. It means you can live and work in Australia indefinitely.
So this is for people who are really serious about making Australia their home.
Exactly.
Okay, we've got two visa options down. What's the third one?
All right, the third option is the Employer Nomination Scheme, or Subclass 186.
Subclass 186. All right, I think I'm starting to get the hang of this.
And this one is kind of similar to the TSS visa in that it requires sponsorship from an Australian employer, but the big difference is that this one leads directly to permanent residency.
So no temporary visa, you go straight to permanent.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a pretty attractive option for chefs who are really looking to settle down in Australia long term.
But of course, you got to find that employer who's willing to sponsor you.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so we've got three different visa pathways, each with its own pros and cons. I guess the best one for you really depends on your individual situation.
Yeah, exactly. And it's worth doing your research carefully to figure out which one makes the most sense for you.
Absolutely. Now, the video also mentioned something really important about checking a specific list. What was that all about?
Oh, yeah, that's crucial. It emphasized the importance of checking Australia's skilled occupation list.
Skilled occupation list. Okay.
It's basically a list of all the jobs that are in high demand in Australia right now, and they update it regularly.
So you got to make sure that chef is actually on that list.
Exactly. And the good news is that the video specifically points out that chef with the ANZSEO code 351311 is listed.
ANZSCO code 351311. I'm writing this down.
Having that specific code, it just shows you that your skills are actually in demand. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's like a green light from the Australian government saying, hey, we want chefs like you.
Exactly.
Okay, so you figured out the visa situation, and you've confirmed that chef is on the skilled occupation list. What's the next hurdle?
Well, once you know you can actually get into the country, you got to start thinking about your qualifications and your experience.
Yeah, right. Because just because you call yourself a chef doesn't mean Australia will automatically recognize your skills.
Exactly. They want to see that you've got the right training and experience.
So what kind of qualifications are we talking about here?
The video specifically mentions a Certificate 3 in Commercial Cookery or an equivalent.
Certificate 3.
It's basically the standard qualification for chefs in Australia.
So that's like your ticket to the game.
Yeah, pretty much. And the video also highlights a couple of places where you can get that qualification, like Le Cordon Bleu and the William Angliss Institute.
Le Cordon Bleu? No, that's a name I recognize.
Yeah, they're pretty well-known culinary schools, very reputable.
So having a qualification from a place like that can really boost your chances.
It definitely adds some weight to your application.
Okay, so qualifications are important. What about practical experience? Is that a big factor too?
Oh, absolutely. The video really emphasizes the importance of apprenticeship experience in Australia.
Apprenticeships, yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard that's a big part of the culinary culture there.
It is. It's a very hands-on way to learn the ropes, and it's highly respected by employers.
So even if you've got a fancy culinary degree,
Huh.
you still need to have some solid experience working in a real kitchen.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They want to see that you can handle the pressure and the pace of a busy service.
Now, what about chefs who've already got a lot of experience working in other countries? How does that translate to Australia?
Well, the video recommends highlighting at least 5 years of experience on your resume, and if you've got expertise in a variety of global cuisines, that's a huge plus.
So they're looking for chefs who are versatile and adaptable.
Exactly. They want someone who can bring something unique to the table.
Makes sense. All right, so we've got visas, qualifications, experience, all checked off. What else do we need to know?
Well, there's more to working in Australia than just the technical skills. You got to consider the language and the culture.
Yeah, of course, you can't exactly whip up a pavlova if you don't speak the language.
And you got to understand the Aussie sense of humor, too.
All right, so let's start with the language requirement.
Yeah.
What do they expect in terms of English skills?
Well, the video says you usually need to take an English language proficiency test, like the IELTS or the PTE.
IELTS and PTE?
Yeah. And you got to get a certain score to prove that you can communicate effectively in English.
Makes sense. You got to be able to understand instructions, read recipes, talk to your colleagues, all that stuff.
Exactly. It's not just about working in the kitchen. It's about living in Australia, too.
All right, so English proficiency checked off. What about the cultural side of things? What did the video say about that?
Well, it emphasized a few key things like the importance of teamwork and clear communication, which I guess is important in any kitchen, really.
Yeah, communication is key in a fast-paced environment like that.
But it also talked about some more unique aspects of Australian culture, like their sense of humor.
Ah, the Aussie humor?
Yeah, the video describes it as cheeky, which I think is a pretty accurate description.
So you got to be prepared for some banter in the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. And they're also big on the no worries attitude.
No worries, that's classic Aussie.
It is. It's all about being laid back and not stressing too much.
So it sounds like Australian kitchens have a pretty relaxed vibe.
Yeah, I think so, but they also take their work seriously. It's a good balance.
And the video mentioned something about work-life balance too, didn't it?
It did, yeah. It said that Australians really value their time off.
So no 12-hour shifts every day?
Well, maybe sometimes, but in general, they're pretty good about respecting work-life balance.
That's good to hear because nobody wants to burn out, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered visas, qualifications, experience, language, culture. We're almost there. What's the final step in this journey?
The final step is, of course, actually finding a job.
Yeah, right. Got to put yourself out there.
And the video gives some really practical tips on how to do that.
Okay, so where should you start your job search?
Well, the video recommends checking out some of the big job search websites like Seek Indeed and Hospitality Jobs Australia.
Seek Indeed, Hospitality Jobs Australia.
I'm taking notes.
Those are the main ones, and they're a good way to get a sense of what's out there, what kind of jobs are available and what salaries they're offering.
So get familiar with the job market.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're browsing the job boards.
Mhm.
What else can you do to increase your chances of landing a job?
Well, networking is always a good idea, and the video specifically recommends attending industry events like Find Food Australia.
Find Food Australia, what's that?
It's a huge food industry trade show.
Hmm.
It's a great place to meet potential employers and make connections. So it's not just about handing out resumes. It's about actually talking to people face to face.
Exactly. It's about building relationships and getting your name out there.
All right, networking checked off. Any other job hunting strategies?
Yeah, the video also recommends being proactive and reaching out to restaurants directly, even if they're not advertising any vacancies.
So just send them your resume and a cover letter and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. It might seem a bit bold, but sometimes it pays off.
Yeah, it shows that you're really interested and that you're willing to take initiative.
And it can set you apart from other candidates who are just applying through the usual channels.
Makes sense. All right, so we've got job boards, networking, direct outreach. Any other tips before we wrap this up?
Oh, yeah, one more. The video suggests considering regional areas if you're looking to get a visa more quickly.
Regional areas like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Sometimes those areas have a higher demand for chefs, and they might be more willing to sponsor people from overseas.
And the visa processing times might be faster too.
Yeah, that's a possibility. So it's definitely worth considering if you're not set on living in a big city.
Okay, so that's all the advice from how to become a chef in Australia. Phew, we covered a lot of ground.
We did. It's a pretty comprehensive guide.
It is, and I think it gives a really good overview of what it takes to make this dream a reality.
Yeah, if you're serious about becoming a chef in Australia, this video is a great place to start.
Absolutely. Now, for you listening out there, think about everything we just discussed. The visas, the qualifications, the experience, the language, the culture, the job hunting process. What part of all this speaks to you the most? What's your biggest takeaway? And most importantly, what's your next step going to be?
Yeah, what's going to get you closer to that Aussie kitchen?
It's a big decision, but it could be an amazing adventure.
Absolutely. And we're here to cheer you on every step of the way.
That's right. So go out there, do your research, make a plan, and start cooking up your future in Australia.
Bon appétit!